Cool. How's it, guys? I'm going to take you through how to craft an award-winning entry. Can everyone see my screen? Yay, thumbs. Cool.
Looks good.
Great. Okay, so firstly, good morning. So God has let me live another day, and I'm about to make it everybody's problem. So I'm gonna, the things I'm gonna say are the things that I've experienced and what we've kind of used best practice and worst practice over the years, and hopefully it'll help you create some great work. So, when it comes to winning bookmarks, there's general categories that a general process that we follow when it comes to all the award stuff, really, but it's today we're talking specifically around bookmarks. So essentially what you're going to need, obviously awesome ideas from the beginning, badass case study, your one-pagers, the results, the supporting documentation, and your fancy suit. So I'm going to take you through some of the some stuff that we have entered over the years and it's been successful for us. And I'm going to go through some the do's and don'ts and let's just look at some more international case studies. So the first one was for our December campaign for our commercial vehicles with Volkswagen. This is super successful for us. We've entered and won over numerous years. And yeah, enjoy.
People know Volkswagen's commercial vehicles work hard. What they don't know is that they play hard too, spacious and capable for all local adventures. To interest this new market, we chose a time when adventure was top of mind, December. Introducing VW December. A social media adventure calendar, where each day of December, people could experience the playful side of a working car. We used data to identify the most sought-after local activities, and created a series of uniquely South African animations that celebrated them.
Lolly to make you jolly. Hey, whoa.
Inspired by Instagram's square format, we turned our pages into an interactive calendar, filled with new adventures.
I'm fine.
Every day, people could win an adventure. To get reach, we sent different influencers to experience each one. And love for commercial vehicles grew every day. With 26.5 million reached, over 1 million engagements, a 63% increase in sales compared to the same time last year, and a 64% view-through rate. Even the Blender animation community loved it. Which now means Volkswagen commercial vehicles are loved by a whole new audience. The end.
So that was a really fun campaign for us, and it's it's actually strangely enough the first time it won silver, and then the second iteration of it won gold. And kind of as we learned, that we had the learnings from the first one, and then kind of iterated into the second, which helped us achieve success. So the one thing that's super important when it comes to entering is that you've got your case study, and then you have your one pages. The one pager is obviously you can create a variety of boards that show all the different work you've done, but I think what's super important when it comes to entering your work is you don't have to show everything, if the direct mailers, and yes, it's full ecosystems that you do when it comes to creating your work, but when it comes to entering into an award show, you need to kind of only choose the pieces that really complement your story. Some of the other stuff can kind of just make it feel like fluff. So your one pages are this is the first thing that the judges see, and it's really has to capture everything. You want to keep it quite concise and kind of punchy. You want to have your leading stats so that at some point that really kind of show the efficacy of your work. If you can, there's kind of some kind of obviously key, you've got your key visual and you've got your key imagery about kind of where it went. obviously on the right, we've got our mobile aspect, and it's in situ with Instagram. And then when it comes to the actual language you use, your subhead or your headline is really important. It's not the like the headline that you use for your campaign. That's not what you're doing. You're trying to tell a jury what it is you did. So for us, it was a holiday adventure calendar brought to life on social media. That's not a consumer facing line. That's a judges facing line. And I think a lot of things people do wrong is they assume that the jury have been exposed to this work in the past or through press or whatever. But the reality is that like we're creating work that is so niche and directed at certain audiences that the chance of people seeing your work are like outside of the jury is quite slim, unless it's like a big public domain. And that's also going to the importance of PR in your work before. That's a big thing. I think if you look at some of the bigger the shows, like a Cannes was over 27,000 entries in 1 year, so if people didn't know your work before they entered the room, it's kind of just moved across. You need to really try and make the work out there and kind of in the public domain before it even gets to the room. It really does help your cause. So this was our initial one. And even the stats we used wasn't like, your, obviously we will have your views and everything, but for us, like the view through rates was really important. I mean, it kind of defined the very nature of our work, so when it came to the actual animations, like we all have the attention span of a goldfish now, like we used to be competing against the skip ad button. Now it's the scroll of the thumb, so for us, it was like creating work that was really like bespoke and kind of designed for a very short attention span. And they were just playful in their nature, but like we wanted to have it between 1 and 10 seconds with a looping thing. So no matter what time someone saw it, they still had an understanding of it. And it worked really well for us and it was fun. And what we learned from it is that the case study needs to be as well crafted as the rest of the work. You can't have these beautiful animations in one space and then just this case study that looks like a moving PowerPoint. It's just kind of really like pulls it down. So then going into our second iteration, so this is the how we went into the second year, and you can kind of just see if I just click between them. We kind of look to evolve it, but make it stay part of the same world. I mean, the campaign itself was actually starting to becoming quite a popular platform, and people kept on messaging us, asking when the next one and who the animation studio was. And the really cool thing is that this was done entirely internally. Like we created our own little studio of wizards and people who have like cool skill sets outside of what they currently do. That actually became a really powerful thing for us. And when it comes to you creating your own case studies, building your team internally is so important. Like you can only do as much as you can do, but you'd be surprised at what you can do. So we went and looked at our guys. We said, okay, what do you like to do outside of your current thing? Everyone's like, I love animation. I'm pretty good at editing and this. We're like, okay, great. Let's actually form our own team. And suddenly we start building case studies internally. We start doing our animations, and yeah, it really does make a huge difference when it comes to doing your work. The results page, bookmarks especially. You will not get anywhere if you don't have a results page. I mean, that's the power of digital. It's amazing. Everything's measurable. It's obviously we've got to see how far down the funnel you can go. The big thing is like, even though I've got down there, it says impressions. Impressions doesn't actually make a good impression. These days, like everyone is so kind of, everyone knows the different kinds of stats that people use, but it's so important to create stats and include stats that are so unique to your case study that actually separates from the rest. Because if I'm looking at a case study and it says 5 million views, 10 million views, 15, it becomes like wallpaper, like show me a stat or result that is really a great reflection of your piece of work as well as your understanding and your goal. So for us, it was like we really wanted with commercial vehicles, which is generally like a hardworking side of the brand. Like it's like just rugged stuff and people industrial kind of blue collar worker type stuff. We really wanted to give it like the same kind of feeling and emotional connection as the other side of the business. So brand sentiment and kind of getting people to like click through, and the love and the kind of that kind of affinity towards a brand was super important for us. And especially around that time, like December is like, people stop working. And when these guys, when their cars stop moving, they stop earning. So it's quite an interesting time. So really kind of look at your results and make it really relevant to your product and your brand and the issue that you're facing. And kind of just like show the spectrum of the work. A lot of times we're in the jury, and we have to work really hard to try and see what it is they're actually talking about. So like people enter a case study, like it'd be social media. You're like, okay, well, what part of it was social media or motion graphics? And case studies are really beautiful, and there's a lot of titles and motion graphics within it. So it's sometimes hard to determine what was the actual thing you entered and what was part of the case study, because you can't expect the judges to go and do extra work outside of it. It's kind of protect the integrity of the jury and the process. You have to judge what's in front of you. It's the only fair way to do it. So really kind of make sure that you're kind of showcasing exactly what the work you did and what people are going to be judging. And like especially the craft categories, like you guys do such amazing work, like sometimes it doesn't necessarily reflect in all the pieces. So if you're doing a piece like motion graphics or something, really just kind of show the methods to the madness. It just makes the jury just appreciate the work that much more. So this is kind of a supporting document we created in terms of just the making of the animations for season 1 of December.
Lolly to make you jolly. Hey, whoa! Lolly to make you jolly. Mr. Lolly to make you jolly.
I'm fine. Whee!
Cool. So I just once again reiterate, like that was all in-house, and I know like coming from Ogilvy, it's a big name, and sometimes it feels like we've got like armies of minions in the corner just doing stuff, but the reality is this was made by like 5 people, guys who are generally doing banners and DTP stuff, and that's I think one of the most like, if I had to say like one thing that really kind of took us from making a banner ad to Grand Prix and stuff is how much we did ourselves. The pilots we created within ourselves. I mean, all the animation done internally, the VFX, the Foley. We just went around and asked people like, hey, make a sound of you getting smashed into trees, and you start building these things, and it's like the more you play, the more you realize you can do. And it doesn't just help with case studies, it helps with actually making the work, which then helps with the case studies. And you start adding more to your repertoire, which is really, it unlocks a world of possibility. And like, sometimes it doesn't have to be an elaborate integrated piece, sometimes just a banner ad will do. And this was a campaign, and like I think that's when it comes to entering, and also you want your agency to do well, but maybe you've got small budgets and you can't compete against the big things. Doesn't mean you can't be in the race. So this was just something really simple that we did. yeah, so that's just a really simple piece. I mean, a couple of things there, like the idea was simple, the execution was simple. The case study was less than a minute. It doesn't have to be 2 minutes. We could have tried to milk it and do all the different things, but it just did what it did, and people really resonated with it. And I think when it comes to creating the type of work that converts everywhere, like I think one of the most important things to do is you can't make something better. You can't change anything if you don't know how something works. So really understand the platforms that you're playing in, the confines, the limits of social media, whether it's reels or Instagram posts, whether it's TikTok. So it's like banners, all the different things that are within the categories of bookmarks. Look at them and go like, okay, what can I do to mess with that or disrupt that? What can we do that makes that interesting, that shows our thinking? It doesn't have to be a huge integrated piece. Maybe it's a direct mailer or whatever that makes people look twice and go like, fuck, that's pretty cool. And that goes into the next thing. If you want to make the best stuff, you have to be a student of the game. I mean, I mentioned this last year, and I'll bang this drum forever. But if you want to make the best work, you have to know what best is. And we can't live in this bubble of our own stuff. So you have to know what wins a Cannes, what's Grand Prix there, what won Black Pencil at DNAD, one show, all the different things. You have to do it. Ask yourself if you know what won at like Grand Prix at Cannes last year with the Black Pencil at DNAD. If you don't know the answer, then there's work to be done. Because we can't get disappointed at not winning stuff if we're not looking at what really the standard is. And it's like it's super cool. It's so inspirational to see how other creatives and other marketers like yourselves are kind of navigating. We're all faced with incredible challenges. Budgets are tight, clients under pressure. Like it's getting harder and harder to really flex the creative muscles. So to see how other people are doing it despite the same challenges is awesome. So go look at it. Go look at the people behind it and kind of see how they did it. It's quite a humbling process. So the next section is how other people impress their mothers and LinkedIn followers. And I just want you to kind of just in your mind before you look at these things, just hear the things to watch out for. So just look at like the role of the brand in each product, like in each of the ones, like how they showed their results. Just from a visual perspective, from a titling. Who they got to validate the idea. A lot of times they'll have talking heads or news broadcasters, maybe even TikTokers or influencers. Like how they show what they actually did. That's not just like a kind of montage of different scenes. Maybe there's something else. The choice of music, like it's such a important thing. When you're looking at these case studies, first of all, you're going to be crafting these things till your eyes bleed pixels. And if you're so bored of the music after the third listen and you want to bludgeon yourself, then that's a problem. Because when you're in a jury, especially if you want to go all the way up to like winning Grand Prix and stuff, that thing is going to be played a lot. And if people are tired of watching it and listening to it after the third listen, then you're kind of dead in the water. So just really kind of make sure that the choice of music is right. Just from a practical side of things, you can always create case studies that are specific for the actual award show. And then you can kind of use whatever music you want, but then you can't let it get played externally. So that kind of robs you of the ability to share that case study via PR and earn media and help gain some traction and so the judges know the work before they get into the room. But you'll see some of the tracks are just super cool. Who they got to tell their story. Like you could use titles, you can use voiceover, but sometimes it's good to have talking heads. Sometimes it's good to have quotes from someone else. And then just look at the scale of thinking versus scale of budget. Like it's the big thing, the big ideas aren't like, necessarily always have the most amount of money. It's just like the speed of response. It's the brand's ability to really kind of buy into an idea and roll with it. And once again, it's also understanding the world they're playing in. And like obviously with the rise of AI and tech and like, it really does help people create a lot more when used the right way. So the first one is, I'm sure most of you've seen it, but it truly is brilliant for a lot of reasons, and we'll go into it afterwards.
Purpose advertising.
Purpose marketing.
Purpose marketing.
Pedigree and Nexus Studios present Adoptable. Adoptable uses machine learning to transform a basic photo of a shelter dog into studio-quality photography. That shelter dog can then be inserted into any digital pedigree ad. Each ad directs people to a personalized landing page. Here, they can learn more about the dog they just saw. And when adopted, that dog is instantly dropped out of media rotation. Now, every pedigree campaign can feature an adoptable dog near you.
Adoptable uses an AI model that is trained to understand the exact visual composition and the nuance of the specific dog. Fur length, body shape, and color identity can all be customized to match the individual dog waiting in the shelter, right down to its unique markings. And because the rig is fully augmentable, the dog can be positioned to suit any media format.
But currently, 1 in 5 adopted dogs are returned to shelters. Using geographic data like proximity to parks and household sizes, Adoptable matches dogs to the locations that suit them best.
We're using really bleeding edge technology that's never been done before to help us as an activist brand really move our purpose forward.
Adoptable is transformational for us at Pedigree because it puts our purpose at the heart of everything that we do. Now, every dollar we spend on digital out of home will not only help to bring our products to the world, it will help bring adoptable dogs to the world too.
I mean, it's truly brilliant. So many reasons. I mean, ultimately what they've done, it's like a pack shot, you know, there's a dog and the food, and that hasn't changed forever. But now they've given more like new meaning to it. They've turned every ad space that people just look at the whole time, like, oh, there's a picture of this dog food, and given it this radical power. It's because they've understood, like, first of all, they understood who they are, you know, the kind of mission as a brand, and their purpose within this. It's like it's been great for product and sales, as well as it is for brand sentiment. You know, like good advertising in the beginning of the case study, they speak to it. It's just like the awards show and all the stuff is awash with good advertising, where brands are trying to jump on things that they have no place in, and it's actually detrimental. This is perfectly placed for it. Like, you can even look at this, like the stats that they are here, like, are presenting based on what they wanted to achieve, you know, like their whole thing of 100% purpose-led investment, 6 times more shelter site visits, you know, 50% of all dogs adopted within the first 2 weeks. That's extraordinary. It's amazing. And what I love about this is, like, if you go and kind of look at beyond just the case study, you just see the interaction and the support from the communities in different areas, you know, by geotagging it and making it specific to certain places. They really are just like ensuring that the chances of this thing being successful is so much higher. And then just once again, from the ad perspective, you know, like adoptable, the ad that's adoptable, it's just like playing, you know, like the only time that puns are acceptable is when you're naming the thing. Weirdly so, that's just how it goes. And then so turning every pedigree ad into an ad for a shelter dog. You know, so once again, the language is designed for juries, so you know exactly what it is that they did. Brilliant campaign, did exceptionally well across every category. Cool. The next, this is the campaign that won gold at Blu-rays last year, and why I put this in is just the way that they presented their results. And listen to it and watch it, and you'll see that there's one result specifically, and I'll talk about it afterwards, that just made the whole room just went, oh wow.
Frozen food, a wonderful innovation that allows us to preserve, share and reduce waste. For over 100 years, we've been shipping frozen food at the globally recognized temperature of -18 degrees. But for a warming planet where every degree has a significant impact, we asked the game-changing question: does the freezing temperature have to be that cold? Logistics giant DP World partnered with independent academics. After months of research, we found the world-changing answer. Introducing the move to -15. A temperature change of 3 degrees wouldn't harm the food inside the containers, but for the world outside, transformative. Competitors had to become partners. If the whole shipping industry came together, we could reduce energy use by 7%, saving 17.7 million tons of carbon every year, the equivalent of taking 3.8 million cars off the road overnight. Launched at COP28, the move to -15 showed that fundamental global change is possible. We shared our research with the world, and an open letter urged companies to join us in the seemingly impossible. A more sustainable future takes innovation and can cost millions. This change requires no new machinery and costs nothing to implement. Within days, 60% of the global shipping industry signed up to be part of the move to -15. And as of today, 17 of the world's biggest food producers, refrigeration companies, hauliers and warehouses have joined us for the sake of our planet. When a whole industry changes together, 3 degrees means the world.
Yeah, incredible. So for me, the stat, because they were like talking about carbon and all that, and everyone was like, "Oh, cool." As soon as they went, that's equivalent to 3.8 million cars being taken off the road overnight. Everyone was like, "Fuck, that is incredible." It's something they told the stat. They made us look at it in a way that relative to us that we could understand. It made it tangible. It made it like, and that after that, it just stuck with me. It was just like what an incredible kind of way to make people look at this in a very easy way. And here's they in terms of their one pager, like when you've got the ex-prime minister of Denmark quoting on your work, you're doing something right, And when it comes to like obviously they've got their key visual, the move to -15 in terms of their lockup, which is really cool. They've got the key stats at the bottom. 60% of the global container shipping industry joined up. They managed to create something where all their competitors managed to be part of the same thing. It was mutually beneficial to everyone, which was extraordinary. And then obviously looking at all the other stuff. Another thing is just the type of logos that you have on the top. It's like you've got the likes of Bloomberg and Forbes. Those are big, huge publications. It's not some kind of small thing. And I always find when we use logos from like ad sites and marketing sites, it actually pulls your work down, especially if the sites are known to just publish work as opposed to writing specific articles where they, from the editors themselves, are actually choosing what goes on. So what is important is to make the logos and the type of publications that you showcase on your boards and in your case study relevant to the idea. It's not about marketing, it's about what you're trying to achieve as a brand and the product there. So it makes a huge difference. The next is just like how something really small in terms of that happens in culture, it can become something far greater.
There's one driven to right down the line toward the corner. That is foul.
Put a little indentation into the can of Coors Light.
Shohei Ohtani. He's the greatest baseball talent in the history of the sport of baseball.
He is to Japan what Messi is to Argentina.
They make up a commemorative series of cans. It has a locked out area, like when Shohei broke their neon sign.
Coors Light has done some of the best reactive marketing that I've seen in a while.
The top 5 best marketing campaigns in sports history.
It's especially impressive because Coors Light is not even the official beer of MLB, nor is Shohei Ohtani a Coors Light sponsored athlete.
やること早いですよね。8月26日のこのハプニングを逆手にとって。
Badass. It's just so cool. Everything about it is brilliant. Like the music, so rad. Can you imagine that being played as the guys walked up on stage to play it? It must have been incredible. It's goosebump stuff. Both those ideas cost nothing initially. That's incredible. So what was amazing about this was just how they really capitalized on something that was just a negative. It was just like a thing that happened, and they went, like, suddenly, generally a logo is like the holy grail. You don't do anything with it. But now we've seen a wave of like communication coming out where people are messing with the logos from the British Airways stuff, where it's cropped on the side and kind of used and abused. There was a Coca-Cola campaign that was brilliant, and got all the people that were like kind of painting their own versions of it. It was actually that holy grail is now being turned into something far greater. And this was incredible, just showing how far it went around the world just through social, how TikTok and all the influencers and kind of, online communities just made this thing so much greater. The fact that these cans now became limited edition things that were being traded on eBay, which is really, really amazing. And they told that story so well. I've watched that case study so many times, and I enjoy it every time. And once again, how this converts into your one pager, your key visual, the one thing. This needs to travel across so many different platforms. And once again, the headline, "Core Lights Out: How a Destroyed Coors Light ad turned into a new can design and unofficial sports sponsorship." And you got your quotes on the side, and just kind of your aspects of the campaign at the bottom, and your key stats there, trending higher than the official beer of MLB. That's massive. That must have pissed off their competitors hugely. Sold out under 24 hours. I mean, incredible. 100% positive sentiment, especially around something negative, around destroying a sign. Fans made their own cans and merch. That's incredible. Like, I think a huge sign of success, and how, like, I'm gonna use the word zeitgeist. Ticked it off now. I'll never use it for the rest of the year. Your work has resonated when fans create fan art and culture and start creating their own things. You see it in kind of popular series and everything, but when an ad happens, people do that, you've done well. And what's great is that the brand like carry that conversation with audiences. They didn't just put this thing out and just wait. They really engaged and pushed it, and it just made it like incredible, to the point that people were requesting it in a country it's not even in. That's incredible. Cool. So now it's up to you guys. So if you want things to get better, you have to make some changes. I know it's hard for things. So we're just going to talk about the anatomy of a case study. So it's you have to speak to the tensions, and context is king. What is the challenge that your brand is facing? What is the kind of foundation that your idea is going to be building with? It's a brilliant idea. You got to give it a good name. It's the only time that puns are acceptable. Just kind of referencing the adoptable. Execution, kind of show the what, the where, the how. The response. Look at how, like, what did it do? Gone are the days when you just put a piece of work out and I was like, okay, that's amazing, it's really cool, but you have to show like what is the impact, you know, like from the consumers, the press, you know, media, the haters, your mom, anything. You know, a lot of time we used to, like, if someone was hating on something for a reason, you just kind of put it to the side, but maybe you can kind of weaponize it. Maybe it's actually a good thing. It was an awesome campaign way back when for the launch of, I think it was Deep Space Nine. It was like a PlayStation sci-fi like space horror game, and instead of just getting the normal people, their fans, to play it, they actually got their moms who hated it, and it actually made it even better. So getting the responses is really important in the campaign. Then the results, obviously your sales, your engagements, behavior change. Like you really kind of need to try and plot what your KPIs are going to be, but sometimes your campaign does just pivot, you know, it goes in a different direction and you need to go with it, you know, and then you kind of need to look at like what the results are at that point, and then make sure your case study and the case study and the like your kind of the challenge and the solution and the results speak to each other. And then the order is up to you. Sometimes people start with a result or a quote, or like they start with the challenge. That's the whole thing about these case studies, is that the more you go and look at all the different versions, you can start seeing that they have like roughly the same things, but the order of it is entirely different. Like things like basic things like using titles versus voiceover. You know, I think what we like to do is we aim for titles first, so write it with titles. So it kind of forces you to be more concise, because if you've got a big like campaign and you're trying to force it into 2 minutes, it can get a lot. You know, and then kind of also work to make the logo wall look less wallpapery. You know, a lot of times it's kind of, you'll do this thing to show like how the work landed in media, all the different publications. So just make sure that you just treat that with some really like some nice craft. Music, make it memorable, complimentary, and not annoying. I can't say that enough. Quality over quantity. Like don't use like kind of average coverage in terms of the exposure and the response to your work. And really, once you don't have to put everything in. Like make sure that the core, like if your case study is a story, make sure the chapters are relevant to it and they all kind of ladder and build up to it. And you'll see once you go through a process of reviewing your work and your file is named version 57B, you'll see that you've gone through the process, and when you viewed it, you can see when some things are lagging and it feels a bit bored. And you know, is there a way to kind of sharpen that? You know, let the press clippings and consumer posts do the talking. You know, a lot of the times, like you can get like a journalist or you know, someone who's, you know, behind the scenes, one of like the CEO of the company and stuff, to actually develop the to deliver the dialogue. That works so much better. So you can see a lot of them, especially in the last two case studies. They'll have like one key voiceover, then you'll cut to some titles that kind of punctuate that or accentuate that. And then they'll have like the CEO of Pedigree talking about it, the UX designer. It really just makes it more kind of personal. And then only use the people and logos that validate your idea. That's really important. Like I think nothing should go in your case study if it doesn't belong there or make it greater. And you got to be critical about that. And the whole thing is, especially when reviewing these things, and I always talk about it, it's like everyone's got that voice inside that like that it's your kind of it's your gut or whatever, and you're watching something and there's something that ekes at you, and then you kind of like, oh, it's fine, maybe no one else is noticing it, so I'm not going to say anything. Say it, because by the 10th iteration, that little thing that's annoying you is now going to be thundering. And it could be the thing that other people are noticing as well, and they're feeling the same way. So just there's no holy cows. Like, you know, identify the things that really are great for it, and also something you're concerned about. You know, it's don't drink the Kool-Aid. And use AI. Like, I know everyone bangs on about this, but AI is like as a tool for developing case studies. It's really helpful. You know, and it's not necessarily about doing your work. It's about like, okay, you've written a script, you know, what's that going to look like? You know, it's getting an editor or into a suite, if you don't have that ability, can be costly. And it's like, and you suddenly there, you got there for 8 hours and you're not getting where you need to be. And then you still have to review it with your CEO or someone else somewhere else, and they're busy and they're not available. You know, it can be stressful. So use AI, plot out your case study, create your own versions. There's a lot of amazing tools out there for you to create whips, and just use placeholder imagery, just titles that says CEO talking here, and then get an AI voice, just to, or put your own pilot of your voice so you can get the timing of it right. So when you're viewing it, you go, okay, cool, that makes sense. That's pretty cool. I think that line doesn't quite land there, or maybe we can get a better stat there. It really does help. Just make sure you don't go down the rabbit hole on AI and start generating weird shits, which I always end up doing. But whatever, you got to find the fun. And then when you are doing, just please say thank you when you're using AI, just in case they do decide to destroy mankind. They might spare you and keep you as a pet. You need the small wins. I don't know why I still, with ChatGPT, and I'm like, please tell me this. I don't know why. Anyway, but don't be the reason why we get destroyed. And then don't try bullshit the judges. I mean, we are veterans of bullshit. We've been there. We've done the things. I mean, a story. Once upon a time in an agency, like there was only like 10 million views, and we were trying to go against brands that were like 70 million or 80 million views. And the one dude was like, well, it's 10 million views. That means it's 20 million eyeballs. And I actually appreciate that kind of, ingenuity. But when it comes to the stats, it's like, especially the impressions things and all that weird stuff, like people see through it immediately, and it can really start when you get into like scoring like the golds and difference between silver and bronze and gold. It's those kind of things that it becomes a thread, and everyone starts going that, like they start reverse engineering, going that doesn't seem right, I'm not buying that, and they kind of work backwards, and then suddenly a campaign that started really well can actually get thrown out entirely. So just make sure that what goes in is legit, and if it isn't, just don't put it in. Kind of things to avoid, typos. Proof that shit. It's like, I know it's hectic. There's a lot of things. You're creating boards and entries and descriptions, and you got to do the online thing. But it's like immediately when you spot a typo in a board, especially, I mean, a lot of times I've seen on the first page, like the first paragraph, you're like, okay, well, if they didn't notice that, what else is it? So just really to make sure you just proof your work and supply everything the category requires. So like if you enter like breakthrough on a budget, for instance, make sure you mention the budget. And there was one instance where it was a great campaign and they didn't mention it, and like it was really unfortunate. We couldn't, as a jury, go beyond and actually track the agency down in that process at how much the cost, because then it's unfair to everyone else. And unfortunately, those are rules, and it sucked because I think they would have done really well. It's a simple thing. Really make sure you read the categories, what's required from the file format too. Don't think that your one file is going to work across, because every award show and stuff maybe has different ways of, like in terms of their own programs and setup, that they need their files in terms of their specs done. So just make sure you get to that stuff early. It takes a lot of the stress away from it. And then triple check the files you upload. Make sure multiple people are checked. I think don't make it one person's issue. That's not fair. I think everyone needs to be accountable and look, and because balls drop, and everyone needs to really help in that process, because I guarantee if it wins, everyone will be jumping on that stage. So that goes to the next thing. Give credit where it's due. It's astounding how many people have built their careers on the backs of other people's work, and that's not cool. I think when it comes to stuff, make sure that if people work on the work, make sure you give credit where it's due. You don't want to like have some awkward thing where someone does a LinkedIn post afterwards going, "Oh, I love this campaign, my name wasn't on it." It's awkward, and it's like a bad look for everyone. The thing is also, sometimes people leave agencies and the campaign can be in process for like years. So like names fall off, but just really do try your hardest to make sure that everyone kind of gets their flowers. It's why we do the thing. You want to, everyone from this, like this could have been the smallest job. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean the person who got you coffee gets credit, but I mean, they are amazing. We love them, but you know what I mean? Don't wait till the last minute. I think that's a huge thing. Look at the deadlines and work your way backwards. Create your own internal deadlines and put meeting requests in for those things. Create like a real process. if this thing matters to your business and your agency and your clients, make sure it matters internally. Give people enough time to do the things, and to don't like send the thing at the last minute and go, FY, this is what it is. You need to factor in the time that for builds and other input from people, because it could be the difference between a silver and gold. Find the right categories that fit your work. Once again, this is really important. You need to go and look at the categories, look at all the stuff, because your campaign can actually be entered across multiple different places, but it can also lose in different places if it's not in the right space. So really kind of look at it and make sure that you're putting your work in the best place, because what also happens is sometimes it'll go into one and the jury will go, yeah, this doesn't quite fit, it's better in that one. And then they almost like handing off the responsibility for another jury to award their piece. And then what ends up happening is that maybe it just doesn't win anyway because everyone's trying to do it across. And one of the biggest reasons for that is that you need to create different case study versions if you can. I know it's time consuming, but and at the very least, what you can do is make sure you change up the boards. But don't have one case study and enter it across everything from motion graphics to social media and expect everyone to judge it the same way. You really need to try and showcase how your work was made specifically for that platform and that thing. So why was it a social media campaign? Like under budget, what is the budget for motion motion graphics or craft? How is someone really going to see the craft in this? So you need to have a behind the scenes kind of making of, do it. You really need to give your work the best shot of being seen in the best light. And then craft them so well that even the haters love them.
I pure, straight hate you. But God damn it, do I respect you.
Yeah, I mean, we're all judging, we're all kind of in the thing, and you're seeing work from other agencies, and sometimes it's tough, but you got to be undeniable. And it's actually really awesome to see just amazing work out there, regardless of who made it. But obviously people are going to come with all their intentions and just make it undeniable. Then you enter the bookmarks, you win, and you humble brag all over LinkedIn, do all the things. And then you can take awkward photos where you don't really know what to do with your hands or your feet or stand in the right way. It's a fun thing to do. Thank you. That is it for me. I'm going to hand over to a corner now. And if you guys have any questions or anything, please do give me a shout. I'm open and free to help.